On the morning of November 14, 1944, at approximately 0530 hours in the Hürtgen forest of Germany, a seemingly ordinary scene unfolded that would revolutionize sniper tactics in modern warfare. Steam rose from a standard-issue tin cup positioned behind a fallen log, visible through the shattered tree line at a distance of roughly 200 yards. This cup had been under observation by Obergefreiter Hans Müller of the 326th Volksgrenadier Division for 17 minutes through his binoculars. The cup remained stationary in the same position behind the same fallen log, its steam rising rhythmically in the frozen pre-dawn air. Müller, an experienced soldier, recognized the telltale signs of either carelessness or exhaustion in enemy troops. The American forces advancing through the Hürtgen had been engaged in continuous combat for weeks without adequate rest, and Müller had witnessed enough warfare to understand that fatigue led to fatal mistakes. The cup's presence suggested a soldier crouched just below, consuming coffee in the frozen darkness, seemingly unaware of the danger such exposure presented. Müller carefully positioned his Karabiner 98 Kurz rifle against his shoulder, aligning the iron sights on the area immediately below where the cup rested. At the estimated range of 180 meters, he calculated the shot would be straightforward. He controlled his breathing according to his training, applied steady pressure to the trigger, and fired. The bullet struck precisely where he had aimed, sending the cup flying backward with coffee spraying into the air. However, Müller never witnessed the result of his shot. In the exact instant he pulled his trigger, a .30-06 from a Springfield 1903 A4 rifle struck him in the center of his chest. The shot had been fired from a position 60 degrees to his left, an angle he had never considered or anticipated. Staff Sergeant James Hendricks of the 28th Infantry Division's Scout Sniper Section lowered his rifle and made a notation in his field notebook. The entry read, November 14th, 0542 hours, confirmed kill number 83. The coffee cup technique had proven effective once again. Over the following 6 days, this singular tactical innovation, a heated cup of coffee positioned as bait while Hendricks fired from an entirely different location, would result in 97 confirmed German casualties. The technique would force an entire German division to fundamentally alter their patrol patterns, cause a breakdown in established German sniper doctrine, and create such profound psychological effects among German troops that certain units refused to advance through sectors where this phantom sniper operated. What German commanders could not have known was that they were confronting something unprecedented in modern warfare, not merely an exceptional marksman, but an American soldier who had systematically weaponized German tactical assumptions and training against them, transforming a simple tin cup into one of the most effective deceptive tools employed in the European theater. The underlying mathematics of this deception were elegantly straightforward. German snipers, trained in methodical observation and patience, would inevitably focus their attention on obvious indicators of American presence. A steaming coffee cup on a frozen morning drew attention like a magnet draws iron. While they concentrated on that single point, calculating range and wind conditions while preparing their shot, Hendricks would be observing them from a completely different angle, his rifle already aimed at the precise location where they would expose themselves to fire. The brilliance of the technique lay not in superior marksmanship, though Hendricks was undoubtedly exceptional in that regard. The true innovation was his understanding that the most effective camouflage is not invisibility, but rather misdirection, controlling what the enemy sees and exploits their predictable response to that perception. The transformation of James Robert Hendricks from a Montana ranch hand into one of the most effective snipers in the Hürtgen Forest campaign began with a childhood spent hunting in conditions that would have proven fatal to most individuals. Born on February 7, 1921 in Billings, Montana, Hendricks grew up on a cattle ranch where winter temperatures regularly plummeted to 30 degrees below zero. By the age of 12, he was shooting coyotes at 400 yards to protect livestock. By 16, he could track wounded elk through challenging mountain terrain and execute clean shots in conditions, wind, snow, altitude, that professional marksmen would consider prohibitive. His father, a veteran of the First World War who had served in the Meuse-Argonne offensive, taught him something that most military manuals never adequately covered. The most effective hunting is not about finding animals, but rather about making animals find you. Hendricks enlisted in the United States Army on December 8, 1941, the day following the attack on Pearl Harbor. His enlistment documentation noted marksman qualification, expert, hunting experience, extensive. The recruiting officer in Billings wrote an evaluation that would later prove remarkably prophetic. This man shoots as though he was born doing it. At Fort Benning, Georgia, Hendricks's instructors quickly recognized exceptional natural talent. During qualification exercises, he scored 238 out of a possible 240 points, missing only 2 shots during the entire course. Both missed shots, he later explained, were attributable to unfamiliarity with the M1903 Springfield rifle, which possessed different ballistic characteristics than the Winchester rifles he had used throughout his youth. Within 3 weeks of familiarization, he had adjusted completely. His instructors noted that he demonstrated an intuitive understanding of bullet drop, wind drift, and ranging that typically required years of dedicated training to develop. More significantly, he displayed tactical creativity that could not be taught through standard instruction. During field exercises, while other trainees focused primarily on camouflage and concealment, Hendricks experimented with deception techniques, leaving equipment in one position while firing from another, creating dummy positions that drew opposing force attention to incorrect locations. One instructor, Captain Robert Morrison, wrote in his official evaluation, "Private Hendricks thinks differently than other marksmen. He does not simply shoot targets, he manipulates the battlefield environment to create targets. Recommend advanced training." By June 1942, Hendricks had completed Scout Sniper School at Camp Perry, Ohio, graduating second in his class of 48 students. The soldier who placed first, Corporal David Walsh from Pennsylvania, would be killed in action at Anzio in January 1944. While Hendricks's scores were exceptional, what truly distinguished him was his performance during field problems involving counter-sniper operations. While most students sought perfect concealment as doctrine dictated, Hendricks developed an alternative approach. He would create deliberate signs of his presence in one location, then observe enemy response patterns from a different position. During one particularly memorable exercise, he suspended his helmet on a stick in obvious view, then waited 4 hours until the opposing sniper revealed himself by preparing to shoot the decoy. The technique earned him both commendation and criticism. His instructors praised the innovation, but some worried about violations of established doctrine. The Army Sniper Manual, FM 23/10, emphasized concealment above all other considerations. Hendricks was proposing deliberate exposure as a tactical tool, which ran counter to conventional wisdom. Captain Morrison defended him, stating, "The manual teaches soldiers to hide from the enemy. Private Hendricks teaches the enemy where to look, then shoots them while they're looking there." On September 19, 1944, D-Day plus 87, the 28th Infantry Division, composed primarily of Pennsylvania National Guard units, entered the Hürtgen Forest as part of 1st Army's drive toward the Roar River dams. They would spend the next 3 months in conditions that veterans would later describe as worse than anything they experienced during the entire war. The forest itself functioned as a weapon against both sides. Dense stands of fir and pine trees, some exceeding 100 feet in height, created permanent twilight conditions at ground level. Artillery bursts in the canopy sent jagged wooden splinters, some 3 feet in length, slicing through anyone positioned below. These tree bursts proved so devastatingly effective that German artillery doctrine specifically called for exclusively airburst fuses in forested terrain. Rain fell constantly throughout the campaign. Soldiers lived in water-filled foxholes for days or weeks at a time. Trench foot became epidemic among frontline troops. Visibility rarely exceeded 50 yards through the dense vegetation. Roads became impassable mud troughs that even tracked vehicles struggled to navigate. Armor could not maneuver effectively in the confined terrain. Artillery observers could not see targets for fire direction. Radio communication proved sporadic due to the terrain and vegetation. Infantry companies that entered the forest at full strength, approximately 200 men, emerged weeks later with perhaps 40 or 50 effective soldiers remaining. The rest had become casualties or psychological breakdowns. For conventional military forces, the Hürtgen represented an absolute nightmare. For snipers, however, it was perfect hunting ground. Limited visibility negated enemy numerical superiority. The broken, complex terrain created countless hiding positions. The constant artillery bombardment made single rifle shots virtually impossible to detect or locate. The psychological strain of continuous combat made enemy soldiers increasingly careless in their tactical procedures. Staff Sergeant Hendricks, now assigned to the 28th Infantry Division's reconnaissance platoon, entered the forest equipped with specialized equipment. His primary weapon was a Springfield 1903A4, serial number 3172418, manufactured at Remington Arms Company in April 1943, and equipped with a Weaver 330C scope. This specific rifle and scope combination had been zeroed at Camp A.P. Hill, Virginia, and Hendricks had fired over 3,000 rounds through it during training, learning its exact characteristics and peculiarities. His ammunition was equally specialized. He carried 172 rounds of M2 armor-piercing ammunition, 150 rounds of M1 ball ammunition, and 28 rounds of M20 tracer for ranging purposes in low visibility conditions. Each individual round was personally inspected before being loaded. Hendricks rejected any cartridge showing even minor case imperfections that might affect accuracy. His field equipment included a notebook for recording shots, weather conditions, and German response patterns, 3 canteens, as water was more critical than food for sustained operations, a hunting knife from Montana, military-issue binoculars, and, significantly, 3 tin cups. These cups were standard GI issue, but Hendricks had modified them for his specific purposes. He had drilled small holes near the rim and inserted wire loops. This modification allowed them to be suspended from branches or propped on sticks, maintaining a natural appearance while being remotely positioned. He also carried a small camping stove capable of heating water even in rain. The stove's fuel tablets, when properly dampened, produced smoke that lasted 3 to 4 hours, creating the illusion of recent or ongoing activity. The operational concept was straightforward in theory. He would position a cup of hot coffee in an obvious location that suggested American presence. German observers scanning for targets would focus their attention on the steam and the cup's location, mentally calculating range and preparing their shot. While they concentrated on that specific point, Hendricks would be positioned 80 to 100 yards away, observing known or likely German positions, waiting for them to expose themselves by preparing to shoot the decoy. The technique required extraordinary patience. Sometimes Hendricks waited 6 or 7 hours for a suitable target to appear. However, when German snipers did reveal themselves by centering their scopes on the coffee cup's position, they created a critical window of vulnerability. For those crucial seconds while they prepared their shot, controlling breathing, steadying aim, applying trigger pressure, they were stationary, focused, and predictable. They were, in essence, perfect targets. November 14th marked the first operational employment of what would become known among German troops as the Kaffeetasse Teufel, the coffee cup devil. Hendricks positioned his first cup at 0500 hours, just before dawn. He had selected a fallen log with good sightlines behind it, a natural position for an American soldier to take cover. The cup sat on the log with steam rising in the cold air, clearly visible to anyone observing from German positions. Hendricks himself was positioned 72 yards to the left, prone behind a cluster of shattered trees with excellent observation of likely German approach routes. He had learned German sniper doctrine through careful observation over previous weeks. German snipers preferred elevated positions slightly above their targets, which provided better fields of fire and observation. They favored positions with multiple escape routes for tactical withdrawal. They worked in pairs when possible, though ammunition and manpower shortages had reduced this practice by late 1944. The first kill occurred at 0542 hours, exactly as previously described. Oberdiefreiter Müller responded precisely as Hendricks had predicted, focused on the cup, prepared his shot, and was killed before he could fire. Hendricks recorded the kill with meticulous detail. Time, range 180 meters, wind 3 to 5 miles per hour left to right, result center mass hit, immediate casualty. At 0715 hours, Hendricks repositioned the cup in a new location, approximately 200 yards from the first position. He assumed a different firing position with clear observation of the new area. At 0833 hours, a second German soldier attempting to investigate the previous engagement's location spotted the new cup and prepared to fire at what he assumed was the American position. Hendricks killed him at 196 meters. By midday on November 14th, Hendricks had recorded 7 confirmed kills. Each engagement followed an identical pattern. German soldier spots cup, German soldier prepares to fire at cup position, German soldier is killed before firing. The technique's efficiency exceeded anything documented in American sniper doctrine. What made the coffee cup technique particularly effective was its exploitation of multiple German assumptions simultaneously. First, it exploited the assumption that American soldiers were tactically careless. German propaganda and actual combat experience had taught Wehrmacht troops that Americans relied primarily on material superiority rather than tactical sophistication. A soldier openly drinking coffee on the front line appeared to confirm this assumption. Second, it exploited target fixation. Once a German sniper identified what appeared to be an enemy position, his training dictated careful shot preparation, calculating range, estimating wind conditions, adjusting for elevation. This intense concentration created tunnel vision, making the sniper vulnerable to observation from other angles he was not actively monitoring. Third, it exploited German resource scarcity. By late 1944, German snipers operated under severe logistical constraints. Ammunition was increasingly limited. Each shot had to count toward mission objectives. When presented with what appeared to be a certain target, German marksmen took the shot rather than risk losing the opportunity through excessive caution. Fourth, it exploited communication failures within German units. German forces in the Hürtgen suffered from deteriorating radio discipline because American artillery had begun targeting radio transmissions for counter-battery fire. Information about the coffee cup pattern did not spread between units quickly enough to prevent ongoing casualties. November 15th brought refinements to the basic technique. Hendricks began varying cup positions more systematically. He noted through observation that German snipers typically observed potential targets for 15 to 20 minutes before firing. This observation period gave him sufficient time to identify and range them before they took their shot. He developed a classification system for German behavioral patterns. Type A shooters observed briefly, perhaps 5 to 10 minutes, then fired quickly. These individuals were typically inexperienced or nervous. Type B shooters took longer, observing for 15 to 25 minutes before firing. These were more experienced soldiers, but their predictability made them vulnerable. Type C shooters, the most dangerous category, would observe for over 30 minutes and sometimes would not fire at all if they suspected deception. These individuals required different tactical approaches. By mid-afternoon on November 15th, Hendricks had killed 12 German soldiers. His notebook recorded increasingly precise data for each engagement. Kill number 9, Type B shooter, range 168 meters, elevated position in pine tree, wind 4 miles per hour, requiring 2 clicks left compensation, center mass hit, target fell from tree. Kill number 11, Type A shooter, range 212 meters, prone position behind log pile, no wind requiring straight shot, headshot, immediate casualty. The German response began developing by evening on November 15th. Hendricks observed something new and concerning. A German squad approached the area where his coffee cup was positioned, but they advanced from an unexpected angle, suggesting they suspected a trap. Hendricks held fire, allowing them to investigate the cup's location without engagement. When they discovered nothing but a cup and a small camping stove, their confusion was visible even at distance. One soldier picked up the cup, examined it carefully, looked around nervously, then the squad withdrew without identifying Hendricks's actual position. This observation told him something crucial about the evolving tactical situation. The Germans were beginning to understand they were being deceived, but they did not yet understand the mechanism of the deception or how to counter it effectively. November 16th brought the first German counter-sniper team specifically tasked with locating and eliminating Hendricks. Intelligence gathered from captured German documents after the war revealed that the 126th Volksgrenadier Division's intelligence section had noted unusual American sniper activity in the sector. A report dated November 16th stated, "Single American sniper operating in Sector 47 demonstrating exceptional effectiveness. 15 confirmed casualties in 48 hours. Pattern suggests deliberate deception tactics. Recommend dedicated counter-sniper operation." The counter-sniper team consisted of 3 men, Hauptmann Otto Krebs, an experienced sniper with 42 confirmed kills on the Eastern Front, Unterofficer Wilhelm Schmidt, a spotter equipped with excellent optical equipment, and Grenadier Josef Hartmann providing security. They entered Hendricks's operating area at 0600 hours on November 16th. Krebs was exceptionally skilled and experienced. He did not immediately focus on the coffee cup that Hendricks had positioned at 0530 hours. Instead, he began methodically scanning the entire area, searching for any indication of the American sniper's actual position rather than obvious decoys. Hendricks, observing from 230 yards away, recognized immediately that this engagement would be different from previous encounters. The German team moved with professional discipline that indicated significant training and experience. They established an observation post with excellent fields of fire covering multiple approach routes. Krebs did not rush his assessment. He observed the coffee cup for over an hour without moving or revealing his position. This was clearly a Type C shooter, dangerous, patient, and analytical in his approach. At 0815 hours, Hendricks decided on a different tactical approach. Instead of waiting for Krebs to expose himself by shooting at the primary decoy, Hendricks created a secondary decoy. He employed a technique he had developed during hunting in Montana. Using a length of paracord tied to a branch, he created subtle movement in brush approximately 40 yards from the coffee cup position. The movement was deliberately subtle, exactly mimicking a soldier shifting position to become more comfortable. Krebs spotted the movement immediately. Hendricks watched through his scope as the German sniper shifted his focus and attention to the new disturbance. Schmidt, the spotter, adjusted his binoculars to examine the movement more closely. For just a moment, both Germans were focused entirely on the secondary decoy, their attention diverted from scanning for threats from other directions. Hendricks fired. The round struck Krebs in the upper chest at 231 meters. Schmidt reacted instantly, attempting to locate the shot's origin point, but Hendricks was already displacing to a new position. Hartmann, the security man, fired several rounds wildly in an incorrect direction, having failed to properly identify where the shot had originated. Hendricks allowed the two surviving Germans to withdraw, carrying Krebs' body. This particular kill was significant for two important reasons. First, it demonstrated that the coffee cup technique could be adapted and evolved beyond its basic form. The cup itself was merely one element of a broader principle. The true technique was understanding what the enemy expected to see and observe, then using that expectation systematically against them. Second, killing an experienced counter-sniper who had been specifically deployed to locate and eliminate him sent a clear message to German commanders. They were now dealing with someone who could consistently outthink their best-trained specialists. November 17th through 19th saw the coffee cup technique reach peak operational effectiveness. Hendricks developed multiple variations on the basic concept. Sometimes the cup sat obviously on a log in clear view. Sometimes it was partially concealed, as if someone had attempted but failed to hide it adequately. Sometimes he employed two cups in different locations, forcing German observers to split their attention between multiple potential targets. He began incorporating sound into his deception operations. He discovered that gently rattling metal canteens together created sounds similar to soldiers moving equipment or preparing positions. These sounds would draw German attention to specific areas, while Hendricks observed and fired from entirely different positions. The psychological impact on German troops proved devastating to unit cohesion and morale. A captured diary from a soldier in the 326th Volksgrenadier Division, dated November 18th, recorded the growing fear. "We call him the Kaffeetasse Geist, the coffee cup ghost. He is always present, but never where we expect him to be. 7 men from our company are dead, all shot while trying to kill what they believed was a careless American. Our officers tell us to ignore any signs of American presence that seem too obvious. But what if they are not decoys? What if real Americans are positioned there? We no longer know what to believe or how to respond." By November 19th, Hendricks had killed 68 Germans in 6 days using variations of the coffee cup technique. This number, recorded in his personal notebook and later verified through division after-action records, represented an unprecedented achievement in American sniper operations during World War II. To understand the magnitude of this accomplishment, the average American sniper during World War II achieved between 5 and 15 confirmed kills during their entire combat service, which might span months or years. Hendricks achieved 68 confirmed kills in less than 1 week using a single tactical innovation. The German High Command's response revealed the significant impact of these operations. A signal dated November 20th from 5th Panzer Army headquarters to subordinate units warned, "American sniper employing systematic deception tactics in Hürtgen sector. All units advised extreme caution when approaching obvious signs of enemy presence. Recommend counter-sniper operations be suspended until pattern is fully analyzed and countermeasures developed." This directive was extraordinary in its implications. A German army command was advising its units to avoid counter-sniper operations entirely because the American tactics had proven so devastatingly effective that engagement resulted in virtually guaranteed casualties. Hendricks had achieved something remarkably rare in military operations, tactical innovation so effective that the enemy chose strategic withdrawal rather than continued engagement. The technical aspects of Hendricks's shooting were equally remarkable upon detailed examination. Analysis of his field notebook reveals meticulous attention to environmental factors that most marksmen overlooked or failed to properly account for. One entry from November 17th at 0900 hours for kill number 42 noted, "Wind 6 miles per hour, quartering from left. Temperature 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity high following recent rain. Range 193 meters. Elevation angle +7 degrees. Target on slight rise. Compensation 1 click up, 1 click left adjustment. Result, upper chest hit, immediate casualty." Additional notes, cold temperature affecting powder burn rate. Rounds impacting approximately 2 inches lower than expected at this range under normal conditions. This level of detailed documentation was highly unusual. Most snipers recorded only basic information: target eliminated, range, general conditions. Hendricks treated each shot as a scientific experiment, collecting data that would improve subsequent performance. His notebook contained pages of calculations determining how different weather conditions affected his specific rifle and ammunition combination under various circumstances. The Springfield 1903-A4's accuracy was legendary among American forces, but Hendricks pushed the weapon beyond its normal operational limits. The rifle's effective range was officially listed at 800 yards for area targets. Hendricks regularly achieved precision kills at 600 yards with careful shot preparation and environmental compensation. His longest recorded kill in the Hürtgen occurred on November 18th when he shot a German artillery observer who was directing fire onto American positions. That particular shot required extraordinary calculation and preparation. At that range of 731 yards, bullet drop was approximately 110 inches from point of aim. Wind drift could vary by 3 feet depending on conditions along the bullet's flight path. Temperature significantly affected both bullet velocity and trajectory. Hendricks spent 27 minutes calculating and preparing before firing a single round that struck the target in the center of mass. The ammunition Hendricks employed varied based on specific tactical requirements. The M2 armor-piercing rounds could penetrate light armor and were effective against targets behind cover or in fortified positions. The M1 ball ammunition provided the best accuracy for precision shots at medium ranges.